The NASCAR Cup Series heads to Texas Motor Speedway for the All-Stars, and we see one of the most frustrating races so far of the 2022 season. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Cup Series race in Texas Motor Speedway, the 2022 All-Stars. We're going to talk about that. I'm giving you parental advice and a little bit of warning. There may be some swearing in this video, so be advised on that. There's going to be a little bit of swearing in this video because I've got some choice words for this race. So, before we go ahead and jump into the actual All-Star race, we had the All-Star Open before the green flag drop in this race. The three drivers that would advance from the All-Star Open would be Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who won segment 1 in pretty dominating fashion. Tyler Reddick, who actually had to start at the rear, I believe got up around 5th or 6th before the end of the first segment. Chris Buescher wins segment number 2. Landon Cassill crashed in segment number 2. And Daniel Suarez would finally get in after winning the final stage in the Open. Tyler Reddick and Harrison Burber crashed in that final segment. And because of how it works with the fan vote and such, Erik Jones ended up winning the fan vote. So the 4 drivers advanced from the All-Star Open: Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez, and Erik Jones. Honestly, probably one of the most forgettable All-Star Open races I've ever watched. Single group all race long. You could not pass. You couldn't really do anything. It was really, really frustrating to watch. And one leader got out front. And a guy literally on old tires, Corey LaJoie, basically hung on there. The fact that a guy was on old tires could literally, who had 20 older tires, can hang on and basically hold on for as long as it did, is a little bit freaking ridiculous. And that's damn stupid. But that's just my honest opinion on that. But those guys would advance to the All-Star race. So, for the green flag drop of the main All-Star race, Alex Bowman would have to start at the rear for unapproved adjustments. So, at the start of the race, after we had the qualifying format yesterday, Kyle Busch actually lead the field from the green from the inside, and Ryan Blaney on the outside, and Kyle Busch got a massive, massive lead and started pulling away. Eventually, Ryan Blaney tried to close up on Kyle Busch, but he really was never able to catch Kyle Busch. He lost a ton of ground, and Kyle Busch would basically dominate and win the opening set, basically the opening segment, with Ryan Blaney right behind him and Kyle Larson in 3rd position. We see Chris Buescher actually, a couple guys I think decided to stay out, including Chris Buescher. We see Kevin Harvick basically coming down pit road, and he had basically a crew under the hood trying to make some adjustments on the car. And we saw some guys take some 2-tire strategies, while most of the rest leaders took 4-stop strategies. We see a restart on lap 26 with Kyle Busch leading the field from the inside and Ryan Blaney on the outside, and Kyle Busch able to clear and get the race lead. Ryan Blaney had a terrible restart though, and would drop all the way back to 6th position after getting up. A lap later, Bubba Wallace would have to come back down pit road for a loose right front wheel. He would come back and get 4 tires. I don't know what Bubba Wallace's picker has been doing this year. I've complained about 2311 pit crew all year. The fact you can't get these wheels tight is ridiculous. It seems like it's becoming a weekly thing where this crew's screwing up. And Bubba had a really good car too. He was driving through the field as well. So that's really, really frustrating. So, we then, a lot of guys say that actually. Well, Ryan Blaney would then get a huge run on Ross Chastain entering turn 1, but got loose, fell from 4th to 6th. Then the first major incident of this race happened on lap 36 for Kyle Larson, who got into the outside wall. Fox did not do a really good job catching this, but Kyle Larson, they were going to commercial. Kyle Larson literally just went straight about 180, 190 miles an hour, really hard into the outside wall, and unfortunately ended up finishing last due to the damage. Luckily, Kyle Larson was okay, but that was one of the hardest wrecks I've seen so far in the 2022 season. We see a couple guys come down pit road. Michael McDowell would come down, Eric Almirola, Bubba Wallace, Chase Briscoe, and Erik Jones would all come down pit road to get change on their tires. We go back, restart on lap 44 with Kyle Busch leading from the inside and Ross Chastain on the inside. Ross Chastain actually had radioed to his picker that he thought he had a rough rear tire going down, but is able to keep going. Denny Hamlin will get really loose on that restart as well and drop all the way from 7th all the way back to 16th position. And then when they're actually interviewing Kyle Larson, basically he's coming out of the infield care center, we would see probably the biggest incident of this entire race. Kyle Busch, who had a pretty big lead over, I believe it was Austin Cindric at the time, he would start having a flat right rear tire and would start losing a lot of time. Ross Chastain basically tried to make a move to the inside. I believe it was of Austin Cindric, if I'm not mistaken, or Ryan Blaney, and he run way into the back of Kyle Busch, nearly got airborne, nearly flipped upside down, and collected Chase Elliott as well. That was probably, like I mentioned, probably the hardest wreck I've seen in next-gen car. Probably one of the wildest wrecks I've seen in a very, very long time. Ross Chastain should have stayed up on the high line and should have not made a move because that Kyle Busch probably could have been avoided in that situation. And it's such a shame, too, because Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, and Kyle Busch were 3 of the fastest cars. And I think the 4th fastest cars in this race were already taken out not even halfway through the race. So that was really, really unfortunate. because of all that damage, but we have to have a red flag for Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, and Chase Elliott because of that red flag. And then eventually, after a 14-minute red flag, we get back going on lap 53, with Austin Cindric actually having the lead after the overtime restart. Austin Cindric lead the field from the inside with Ryan Blaney on the outside. Austin Cindric was able to pull off Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney tried to get a run on the outside going into turn number 2, but Austin Cindric was able to pull away, and he would come off the corner and win stage number 2. Right after stage was over, Ryan Blaney showed his displeasure with Austin Cindric. I really don't know what Ryan Blaney was really upset about, to be honest with you. Just a little bit frustrated up with him. Guess the fact that he was kind of getting a little bit of payback for Daytona 500. Right after that, we would have the pit crew challenge, the pit stop challenge, where basically whoever had the fastest pit stop would get $100,000. Now, William Byron actually won the race off pit road, but the driver who actually won the fastest pit stop challenge was Joey Logano, who had the fastest pit stop from start to the end, and he would get the $100,000, meaning he would start fourth in the final stage. Kurt Busch would also get penalized for driving through too many pit boxes and would have to start at the rear as well. So on the restart, I have William Byron lead the field from the inside and Ryan Blaney on the outside. William Byron would lead for a couple laps, and Ryan Blaney's car was just way too good. And a few laps later, he was able to get around and take the race lead. Then Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who was having a decent run, was actually in the top 10. He would have a flat right rear tire on his car for 9th position and would have to come down the road. Luckily for him, the caution did not come out. And then Chris Bell was really starting to catch Ryan Blaney, who was in second at the time. A few laps later, he had basically just got loose going to turn number 3 and lost it going into the corner and hit the outside wall, bringing out the caution in this race. He would only fall back to 4th at a time. We see a couple guys basically stay out. Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Joe Logano, Michael McDowell, while the rest leaders came down pit road. Bubba Wallace was trying to drive his way back up to the front, already had issues in the race. He would have more issues and would have to basically come back, have to back his car up to tighten the loose wheel for the second time in this race. So on the restart with the overtime finish, you have Ryan Blaney lead the field from the inside and Joey Logano on the outside. Ryan Blaney was eventually able to clear. Joey Logano was able to pull away, and he was able to win stage 3 here at Texas Motor Speedway for the All-Star race. Then on lap 83 restart, it's actually Austin Cindric actually won the race off pit road, while Ryan Blaney dropped all the way back to 3rd while the rest leaders decided to stay out. So on the restart, Austin Cindric lead the field from the inside and Ryan Blaney on the outside, and we saw Ryan Blaney eventually got to Austin Cindric and was able to take the race lead. Then Bubba Wallace was really starting to drive his way back up to the front. He would come back down pit road with a flat tire. And then a few laps later, with around 30 laps to go to this race, the next incident of the race would come out on lap 105 for Eric Jones, who basically spun down on the front turn number 4, and he would hit the outside wall with around 20 laps to go, and basically would bring out the caution in this race, and would unfortunately fall out of this race. Wasn't having a great night to begin with, had to transfer into the race with the fan vote. Was looking to try to win his first race since 2019 in any respective series. Very big shame right there. We see a little strategy in this race where Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, Joey Logano, Daniel Suarez, and Chris Buescher, Brad Keselowski, and Eric Almirola, they would all stay out, while Denny Hamlin, William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch would all take 2 tires, and the rest of the drivers would take 4. So on the restart, you have Ryan Blaney lead the field from the inside, and Austin Cindric on the outside, and Ryan Blaney was able to take the race lead and started pulling away. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin, who had a really strong fast car, was already up to 3rd position with around technically 7 laps to go in this race when he with the 2 fresh tires. And eventually, with around 5 laps to go in this race, Denny Hamlin would get around Austin Cindric. Now, it looks like Ryan Blaney is going to easily cruise his way to a very easy victory with round coming to the white flag. As they're coming actually off the final corner, NASCAR pulls the plug right off from Ryan Blaney's nose, and 100 feet from the finish line, they decide to throw the caution. Look, I understand what the rules that they have to complete every single lap, but it's 100 feet from the finish line. I know Stenhouse wrecked, but come on. Couldn't even get him to the finish line and just finish the race. You could have put us out of his misery that we had to put up in this race. Really freaking stupid and dumb that they had to freaking do that. I can't understand what the hell they were thinking right there by throwing the caution. And then Ryan Blaney had his window net down as he thought the race was over, but had to reattach, eventually got to reattach, but basically would still hold on to the lead. And then on the final restart of this race, you had Ryan Blaney lead the field from the inside and Denny Hamlin on the outside. And Ryan Blaney got an amazing push from Austin Center. And Ryan Blaney then had to throw a massive block on Denny Hamlin on the backstretch and got away from him. Denny Hamlin tried to close in on Ryan Blaney, but was not enough. And coming off the final corner, Ryan Blaney, while it's not his first points-paying victory, Ryan Blaney picks up his first technical victory and his first exhibition victory of the 2022 season. Ryan Blaney's definitely been really, really fast this year, but he seems like anytime Ryan Blaney's got a shot to contend for victories, something goes seriously wrong. Ryan Blaney, once all the other cars had issues in this race, he barely became the best car in this race, so it is great to see that Ryan Blaney picked up the victory and kind of a really, really frustrating race. If he had lost that race, I would have been really, really pissed, but I'm honestly pissed regardless at the moment how that race went. So now let's go ahead and go through the results. Congratulations, Ryan Blaney, by the way, but now let's go through the results of this race and give you my score and thoughts on this race. So Ryan Blaney picks up the victory. Denny Hamlin with a really strong second-place finish. Denny Hamlin had a 10th-place car really most of the beginning of this race, but he progressively worked on that car. They got a better strategy, got him up front, and finished a respectful second place. Good run from Denny Hamlin. Austin Center finished third, the strongest I've seen Austin really since the beginning of this season. Hasn't been the strongest since Circuit of the Americas. So in another Texas track, really great to see that Austin Center gets a really strong top five. Actually won a stage in this race and looked really competent. Penske showed up tonight, so he got a good finish. Joey Logano finished his fourth. Very solid top five run from Joey Logano tonight. He was around 10th early in the race, but he won that pit stop challenge, which really helped him boost his finish, but gets a very solid top five. Daniel Suarez finished his fifth. You know, for a guy that had to transfer his way all the way through, he had a really fast car in this race. He had one point, had a second to third place car. He never really could get back up there and get past those guys as the run went on, but he gets a very solid top five run. Hopefully Daniel Suarez could continue to his confidence, and hopefully going into this weekend at the Coke 600, he really can bring that confidence and have a good run. Alex Bowman with a very solid 6th place finish. Alex Bowman was really nowhere to be found at all in this race, but they worked on that car and got a very solid top 10 finish. Good run ending for Alex Bowman. AJ Allmendinger finished the 7th. How about that for AJ? AJ ran a lot of this race really around 10th to 15th, so he finished better than where he probably should have finished, but still saw a top 10 for Collard Racing. Hoping he can get him some boost and some confidence going forward. Chris Buescher finished today. How about that for Chris Buescher? And also, Brad Keselowski got 9th as well. So great to see both the RFK cars finishing the top 10. Chris Buescher also had to basically race his way in as well and ran a lot of this race inside the top 10. Ford really showed up in this race. It's great to see both Chris Buescher and Brad Keselowski get top 10s. Chris Bell finished his 10th. Chris Bell with a solid bounce back after his issues early in this race. I think Bell had one of the fastest cars in this race. But if you're going to have a mulligan race, this is a race to do it, unfortunately. William Byron finishes 11th after basically coming down pit road late. William Byron had a good car early, but the car kind of fell off. Eric Almirola finishes 12th. Kurt Busch finishes 13th. Kurt Busch had a 5th place car most of the race, but his pit crew messed up once or twice. He went through too many pit boxes and finishes in 13th. Mark Trix Jr., after pitting late, finishes in 14th. He had a really good run running top 10. I don't know why he decided to come down pit road when passing. Really doesn't matter. Michael McDowell finishes in 15th. Bubba also, I think, crashed on the last lap of this race. He would end up finishing 16th. Pit crew screwing up every single race is just unacceptable in my opinion. The fact that it's becoming a weekly thing that this pit crew messes up, just completely unacceptable, and they've got to get it turned around with the 23 team going forward. Kevin Harvick finishes in 17th. Kevin Harvick was a nobody in this race. He was really one of the few cars that never showed up at all in this race. And I'm getting a little worried about Kevin Harvick, especially when we get to the playoffs later this year. I'm a little worried about Kevin Harvick. Chase Briscoe also is really a no-show as well. He finishes in 18th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., of his issues, he finishes in 19th. Eric Jones, after his crash, finishes 20th. 21st for Kyle Busch. 22nd for Ross Chastain. 23rd for Chase Elliott. And finishing 24th in last place is the defending Cup Series champion, Kyle Larson, who had a very nasty hit. Good to see he got out of the car. Okay. So now let's go over and talk about the overall thoughts of this race and give you my score of tonight's All-Star race. Look, I will say this. This race was better than last year's race. Not by much, though. Texter, I was really hoping that this next-gen car, because they've had a lot of good race on mile and halves this year, I really thought they were going to get a really, really good and awesome fucking race tonight. And we did not get that tonight. It was a really just a boring-ass race. Whether it's from the open or whether it's from the actual race, it was a really boring race once you had a cautions. And one of my people that I follow on Twitter, Black Lives Matter, Darian Gilliam, who basically, Black Lives Matter, who you all probably basically follow, he pretty much basically said the same thing, that just because you have a lot of caution in this race does not mean that the race is good. So I just don't entirely understand. Again, I don't want people to think that I hate Tex, want to basically say that the next-gen car sucks. I don't think the next-gen car is a bad car. It's a good car, in my opinion, but Tex Motorsport in general is just a lost cause. And the sooner we get away from this track, the better it's going to be. I am sick and fucking tired of coming to this track every fucking year. I'm tired of it. I've had enough of this shit. I'm tired of coming to this track, and I just don't want to be here anymore. And the fact that we're going to have to run 500 miles in the fall, yes, it's one less points paying race, so that at least is a positive. I'll give you that. But I think it's a little freaking stupid, the fact that we have to come back here for another 500-mile race. We've had a lot of mile-and-a-half races that have been super fucking good this year. I've been so frustrated with the fact we've had so much good racing this year. And this race, honestly, is a little better than the Martinsville race, but not by much. I'm sorry, I'm not a happy camper right now. That was frustrating watching that officiating call. What the hell was that shit? I don't understand what that was about. I just do not understand why we had this race. Again, for me, my score is 4 out of 10. I did not like that race. A lot of single file. Only thing that happened was a few cautions, a few big ones, which made the race at least something interesting, but it was really frustrating for me to watch. 4 out of 10 in tonight's race review. So anyway, that's tonight's race review for the 2022 All-Series. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on so be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow my Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on page as well. Let's get below over that and comment your thoughts on tonight's race. What are your thoughts on tonight's race? Let me know below. Let me know your score in the comments below. And congratulate Ryan Blaney on picking up the 2022 All-Series. Let me know that in the comments below. Tomorrow on my channel, we're going to be having race picks on my channel, but it's not going to be for the Coca-Cola 600. It's going to be for the Indianapolis 500. I'm going to be doing race picks for the Indianapolis 500 this year. I also am planning, by the way, to do Indianapolis 500 race review right after that concludes. So on that next Sunday, we're going to have a double header. A lot of other content coming his way. I'll see you guys there for some more awesome content in the future. Take care, everybody.